American victory at Saratoga was a turning point in the Revolutionary War because it convinced France that the colonists might just win this war for freedom against Great Britain. And after the victory at Saratoga, the King of France welcomed Benjamin Franklin to France to talk about an alliance between the two countries, although the United States isn't really a country yet. So, after the Battle of Saratoga, France thinks that, you know what, these colonists might just win their freedom yet. And so, the King of France welcomed Benjamin Franklin to his country to begin to talk about an alliance between France and America. And they met in February of 1778. February of 1778. And on February 6th of 1778, the colonies and France signed two separate treaties or alliances. On February 6th, 1778, the colonies and France signed two separate treaties, putting together their alliance. The first treaty was a commercial treaty. It had nothing to do with alliances so much. Commercial treaty. What's a commercial treaty deal with? What? Trade, very good, Dane. Trade. And what that treaty stated is both France and America agreed to give each other favored treatment in matters of trade. They would treat each other good, just like Macklin just bought himself a sporting goods store that sells guns, and I just bought me a guitar store that sells Gibson guitars. And so he and I are going to have a little bit of a commercial treaty where we're going to treat each other favorably. So if Morgan comes over and wants a gun, he's going to pay full price. If Morgan comes over and buys the old Gibson guitar, he's going to pay full price. But if I want a gun and he wants a guitar, we're going to make some favors here between the two of us, sell to him cheaper. We might even charge Morgan a little bit more to make up for the loss that we're going to make between the two of us. Yeah. So that's what they did. Okay? The second treaty they signed was a treaty of alliance. Was a treaty of alliance. And France agreed to two things as far as this treaty of alliance was concerned. France agreed to two things. France agreed to recognize, number one, the independence of the American colonies, officially. Okay? So France agreed to officially recognize the independence of the American colonies. Were they willing to do that before a big victory at Saratoga? No. But after Saratoga, they were agreeing to officially recognize the independence of the American colonies. That's one thing that the French agreed to. The second thing the French agreed to on this Treaty of Alliance was to wage war upon Great Britain until America was free. To wage war against Great Britain until America was free. Well, do you think America's going to have to agree to something too? And they are. And they agreed to two things. They agreed to two things. Now, we didn't go back in our lecture this far, so I might have to explain it a little bit. The first thing that America agreed to in this Treaty of Alliance with France is we would defend the French West Indies. Yep.
They said they would go until America got its freedom. How did they get freedom?
Well, we'll tell you that. Okay? So America agrees to defend the French West Indies. What does that kind of tell you? We didn't talk about that. But where are the French West Indies? Where are the West Indies? Yeah, the Caribbean. And who owns them? France. And we, since we're so close, right? Florida, Georgia, we agree that we will defend the French West Indies. So if somebody came in, a foreign country, came in and tried to take the French West Indies from France, we would defend France and help them defend those. Okay? Second thing that America promised on this Treaty of Alliance is they would never make a separate peace with Great Britain. America would never make a separate peace with Great Britain, separate from who? France. In other words, if we made peace with Great Britain, who would have to agree to it? France. Okay? So the two things America agreed to in this Treaty of Alliance that was signed on February 6, 1778, was America promised to defend the French West Indies, and America promised they would not make a separate peace agreement with Great Britain. With that said, we receive aid from France. Now, this is kind of an interesting story here, because this treaty comes just in time. Washington troops are in bad shape, they're poorly equipped, they're sick, they're hungry, and France is supposedly going to shower the colonists with more soldiers, with more supplies, and the modern equivalent of $13 billion. They're going to give us that. So the treaty comes just in time. Washington troops are in bad shape, they're poorly equipped, they're sick, they're hungry, and France has agreed to shower the colonists with soldiers, supplies, and the modern equivalent of $13 billion in today's money. It's a lot of money. Now, the problem is that isn't going to happen overnight. And what Washington's going to have to do is survive on low supplies, low equipment, sick and hungry soldiers until it arrives. That's going to be a problem. It's not coming overnight. Now, another thing that we got from France that was very beneficial, other than soldiers, supplies, and the modern equivalent of $13 billion, was the services of an officer by the name of Marcus de Lafayette. We received the services of Marcus de Lafayette. He is going to come and provide leadership and training to what? The Continental Army. So another big benefit that we received from France was a young officer that was shipped to America by the name of Marcus de Lafayette, and he's going to come to provide both leadership and training for the Continental Army. But he's got to get there first. Well, time travels fastly. We signed the treaty in February. March comes, April comes, May comes, June comes, etc. And in 1777, we're kind of backing up a little bit, 1777 winds down. So I'm backing up and talking about the winter of 77 before Franklin did what? Actually went to the peace treaty. Because I told you that Washington troops were in bad shape, right? Now I'm going to explain the shape they're in with the next subtopic, which is a cold winter at Valley Forge for the Continental Army. So we're backing up a little bit and explaining to you why Washington's troops were in such bad shape. They were poorly equipped, sick, and hungry, as we are dealing, so to speak, with France. Okay? So this actually happened before Franklin went to France. Well, it's a cold winter. And just 20 miles northwest of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 11,000 American soldiers are trying to survive a horrible winter at Valley Forge. So 1777 winds down. We fight the Battle of Saratoga, remember, in October. So November comes, we're liking our victory, but December comes, winter comes, and as we get to the end of 1777, we've got a bitter winter, and Washington has moved the 11,000 Continental soldiers just 20 miles northwest of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, at a place called Valley Forge, where it is colder than you can imagine. Horrible winter. Well, what happened is the supply system that was going to be provided by the Continental Congress to get supplies to Washington soldiers broke down. They didn't get them any supplies. And so basically they're sitting there at Valley Forge with no supplies, no medicine, no blankets, no food. Because the supply system in our country at the time wasn't working very well. And Congress, who was supposed to give Washington supplies for the fight, were not getting it done. And the men are so hungry, some are eating tree bark, and some are melting snow because they have no drinking water. It's just a horrible situation. Men are starving so bad they're eating tree bark, they're melting snow for drinking water. Some of them don't have any shoes. The clothing is not appropriate for the weather. Because Valley Forge was basically an ice box at the time, like staying in a refrigerator. And many soldiers either froze to death or they died of disease during that harsh winter. Matter of fact, of the 11,000 soldiers at Valley Forge, 2,500 will die during this winter, this harsh winter. And actually more would have died, maybe all of them. Now Congress is back there in Philadelphia trying to figure out what's going on, trying to fix the broken supply system, but it's going to take time. And General Washington doesn't have any time. He needs food now, and he's fearing that if he doesn't get food, he may lose all 11,000 soldiers before it's over. Well, he has no idea that there is a rescue party heading his way. And it's not Congress and their broken supply lines. It's an Oneida war chief by the name of Han Yeri. Oneida war chief by the name of Han Yeri. An Oneida war chief by the name of Han Yeri. Why would Han Yeri and the Oneida Indians put together a rescue party to bring food to the colonial army? Why would they do that? Where do they live? Do they live in America? Yeah. Why would they do that? Ivan, why would they do that?
So that when the war's over, that you need to get something in return.
You're pretty close. Han Yeri has to make a decision that's in the best interest of his people. Who's going to win this war? We better support who we think's going to win and help those people. And he believed that supporting the Continental Army and the American colonists in this fight against Great Britain would in the end be the best for his people. Okay? He believed that if the American colonists won the war, the Oneida Indians would be treated better than if the British won the war. So the Oneida Indians really are becoming the first ally of the colonial cause, because Han Yeri chooses to side with the Patriots rather than the British during this war. And he does this because he truly believes supporting the colonists will be in the best interest of his people overall. So what he does is he and his warriors carry 600 bushels of white corn over 400 miles to Valley Forge. Chief Yeri and his warriors carry 600 bushels of white corn. How much is that, Ivan? You're an FFA guy.
What?
How much is 600 bushels of white corn? How many times would it fill up this room? Anybody know any farmers in here? How much is a bushel? Is it a bushel basket? Is that what that means? Yeah. So that gray garbage can back there, would that be a fair indication? Maybe? We'll just say it might be. They brought 600 of those. Okay, 600 of those. And they traveled over 400 miles to do so. Well, they arrive, they've got to avoid the redcoats, and they got to avoid their Indian enemies, because do you think every Indian tribe supported the colonists? No. Matter of fact, most of the Indian tribes in the American colonies or in the western lands were really to help the British, because they thought the British were probably going to win and thought they would be treated better by the British after a victory. So Chief Yeri and the Oneida Indians are an unusual situation. Well, they arrive after avoiding both the redcoats and their Indian enemies, and the white corn is a lifesaver for Washington's starving soldiers. It allows them to hang on until Congress finally fixed their broken supply lines. So here's another person in history you've never heard of, Han Yeri, who saves Washington's army from being depleted to probably nothing during this harsh winter at Valley Forge. Well, once Washington's soldiers are fed and recover, they need to learn something new. What do you think they need to learn new? They just need to learn a little. Everybody needs a little of this. My dad is good at it. Discipline. I thought I had ADHD until my dad pulled his belt out. And then I found out what it was. It was instilling some discipline. So anyway. Now, one man was chosen for instilling this discipline among the Continental Army. And ironically, it was a Prussian soldier. Not Russian, but Prussian soldier. Which was another country at that time. A Prussian soldier by the name of Baron von Steuben. So the man responsible for instilling the discipline among the Continental Army was a Prussian soldier by the name of Baron von Steuben. You know what he really was? An unemployed soldier of fortune in search of a cause. What's a soldier of fortune? Anybody know? What's another name for a soldier of fortune? A mercenary. Very good. Which means the person gets what for his services? Paid, and paid usually pretty well. So the Continental Army hires Baron von Steuben. He's 47 years old. He's got a reputation as a drill master. He's an unemployed soldier of fortune searching for a cause, and he finds the cause. And he whips the motley patriots into a well-oiled fighting machine. He instills the discipline. He instills the training. And when the Continental Army comes out of Valley Forge, they're going to come out as a professional army, not a bunch of ragtags who can decide to go here or there, wherever they want. He's going to train a professional army, one that's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with the British Army. So von Steuben becomes a very important person in American history by training the Continental Army and allowing them to go toe-to-toe with the British Army. Now, where has the revolution been fought this entire time geographically? The North. This will end part 1 of the Revolutionary War, and when we start our lecture on part 2, the war is going to move to the south. So what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to watch a video called Patriots Rising, Revolutionary War Part 1, and then we're going to have a review on Monday and a test on Tuesday next week. That's how it's rolling. Friday, we'll take Friday for those that are here, and we'll have us a little bit of a fun video. It's kind of a motivational video Friday. Okay? All right. Done a good job here. So that's the end of this lecture material for this test, folks. Revolutionary War Part 1.